Okay, so let's start the new chapter, which is named as anatomy. What do you mean by anatomy? Anatomy means a study about the internal structure of the plants. So in this chapter, we are going to study about the internal structure of the plants. Earlier chapter was a plant morphology. So whatever you can find out in the external observation, that we have studied in the last chapter. So that was root, stem, leaf, flower, fruit, seeds, etc., etc. Okay, and today we are going to study about that inside the plant, what kind of tissues are present. Not issues, I'm saying what kind of a plant tissues are present. Okay, what are the main types of such a tissues, on which basis such a tissues are given. Okay, and as we already know that actually the tissues will be developed because of cell differentiation. And I told you what do you mean by the cell differentiation. Based upon the future function of the cell acquire new shape and new size. Such a group of the cells who are similar in their origin, structure, and function. Group of cells who are similar in their structure, function, and origin will give rise to tissue. Will give rise to tissue, and such tissues will give rise to gun, that is known as an organ, and organ will give rise to organ system. So as in animal body also, there is a digestive system, reproductive system, excretory system, skeletal system, immune system. These are the different kind of systems, and nervous system. So is it possible that such a kind of systems are present even in the plants also? Yes. So here is also such a kind of a systems are there. What do you say, sir? Yes, but it's not a digestive system or like that, but it will be divided into three parts. That is known as a epidermal tissue system. Then second one is known as a ground tissue system, and the third one is known as a conducting tissue system. So these are the things which we are going to study in this chapter. Okay, so just be ready, and you will enjoy this chapter much more, because this chapter will be having solving your dual purpose. So what are both the purposes? One purpose is that it will give you a fundamental clarity, and if you will be very good in this chapter, then this chapter is taken even in the practical also. So if you will go through the diagram with proper kind of a labeling, then your practicals will be also a very smooth one. And not only that, even in the viva of the practicals also, the questions will be asked from the same chapter. Okay, so if you can go through this chapter very nicely, you will be having the multiple benefits. Okay, and I hope you people are ready. Are you ready? Yes. Okay, so let's start about this. So first of all, I would like to say about the type of the different kind of tissues. Okay, so the first is what? The first slide is talking about what? So the first slide is talking about the anatomy of flowering plants. So here we are going to start about the anatomy of flowering plants. Okay, let me make my window visible so that it should be having the appropriate size. Yes, I think this is perfect. Good. Yep. Okay, so hey sir, what is this? What is in the background? So this is what the transverse section is taken. Okay, and once the transverse section is taken, it is stained by two things. As a result of that, it will be having a double color staining, and that's how it will look like this under the microscope. So that's what I have taken in the background. Yeah, so you can say the stem. It could be having the root also. Okay, yeah. So anatomy is the study of the internal structure of plants and other organisms. So anatomy means what? We are studying internal structures of the plant. In the medical also, anatomy seems to be a very difficult, because you have to got to know about the different muscles name, different bones name. Bones name you will study even in the 11th grade also. So that is in the skeletal system, but different muscles name, arteries name, veins name. So that's why the medical students are saying that, sir, ANET is really a headache. And even English medium people also, for them also it is a headache, because the origin of the names are not from the English language, but sometimes it's the Latin language origin is there, and that's why it's very difficult to understand. Okay. Yep. So that's some medical students are saying it's innate in spite of anatomy. Okay. Yeah. So whenever somebody is discussing about innate, its meaning is that they are talking about anatomy. Okay. So it is the study of internal structure of the plants and other organisms. Okay. Now, so we are starting with what? The tissues. So basically, there are two types of the tissue. That depends upon what? That depends upon whether they have a capacity to go for a cell division or not. If they have a capacity to go for a cell division, then it is known as a meristematic tissue. If they are not capable for cell division, then it is known as a permanent tissue. Okay. Again, whether they have a capacity to go for a cell division or not. If they have a capacity to go for a cell division, then it is known as a meristematic tissue. Otherwise, it is known as a permanent tissue. Okay. So I will show you one table also. So don't worry about that. Okay. So a tissue is a group of the cells having a common origin, function, and structure also. Based on the capability of the cell division, plant tissues are divided into two groups. One is known as a meristematic, and another one is known as a permanent tissue. What do you mean by permanent? What do you mean by the meristematic tissue? Meristematic tissue is having the capacity for cell division. So they will be capable for cell division and they will go for cell division continuously. Okay. And as a result of that, they are adding much more cells and they will definitely help in the growth. So how can you measure the growth, whether you are growing or not? How do you got to know? So there are two ways, three ways, four ways. Is like you can measure your weight. If your weight is gaining, its meaning is that the growth is taking place. That is first of all. The second thing is that it might be happen your diameter is increasing. So you may have a increase in the width, okay, as well as you may increase in your height also. Okay. So and yes, of course, your hairs are also growing, then it's becoming long and long, then it is also a type of a growth. If my mustaches and beards hairs are growing, then it's a kind of a growth. My nails are growing, that is also a kind of a growth. Okay. So these are the different ways how you can say that the growth is taking place or not. In the case of the plant, meristematic tissue is responsible for the growth in the height as well as in the width. Okay. So growth of the plant will take place in length as well as in the width. Want to say something to me or to each other? Nothing. Okay. Apical meristematic tissue. What do you mean by apical meristematic tissue? That will be present at the shoot apex, and not only that it is present on the shoot apex, it may present even on the root apex. So assume that inside the soil there is a root, and in the root also there is a root apex. And I told you in the last lecture, last chapter only, that this root apex is having a apical meristematic tissue. We have studied this, and it is protected by, very good, it is protected by a root cap. Okay, so that we already know. Okay, so intercalary meristematic tissue, where is it present? Do you know about the node? Okay, so in between the two nodes, this intercalary meristematic tissue is present. So what do you mean by that? Its meaning is that yes, in between the two nodes, its meaning is that in the internode it is present. Who? Intercalary meristematic tissue. Okay, so this too will increase the height. The apical meristematic tissue as well as this intercalary meristematic tissue will increase the height of the plant. Okay. Yes. So it will increase the height of the plant. Am I okay with the this spelling of height? Height. Okay. And lateral meristematic tissue will increase the width of the plant. Width. And you can say it's a diameter also. So that's the same to say. So width of the plant or diameter of the plant may increase because of this lateral meristematic tissue. Okay. So in these way, meristematic tissue are continuously adding some cells. As a result of that, the height as well as width is going to increase. Yes. Okay. And I told you that what should be the characteristics of the meristematic tissue. I told you if you are given the task that give rise to a meristematic tissue cells, then what will be the characteristics of the such a tissue? Can you tell me? Division. They can go for a cell division very fast, but what are the characteristics? Like if you want to be a soldier, then you should have a minimum some height, then your chest should be having some broadness, then only you will get the chance, you will be able to go through the physical fitness. In such a way, I'm just telling you what will be the here, what will be the characteristics of the meristematic tissue cells. Aryansha, do you know? Please speak out.
Could you repeat the question?
Say me loudly.
Could you repeat?
Yeah, what are the characteristics of the apical meristematic tissue cells?
They can divide.
They can divide. That is not the characteristic. Why they can divide very fast? So none of you know about that. So let me tell you. It should be having a cell wall thin. Then it should be having a small in size. Then they should be having a dense protoplasm. So protoplasm means what? Whatever is inside the cell membrane is known as a protoplasm. So that includes the cytoplasm as well as a nucleus also. Okay, so that's what it is. So these are the tissues which can go for the cell division, and they will definitely help in the growth. Based upon the position of the meristematic tissue, there are three types: apical meristematic tissue, intercalary, and lateral or secondary meristematic tissue. Why this is known as a lateral or secondary? Because increase in the width is known as a secondary growth. If you want to write down, please write down. Increase in a width is known as a secondary growth, but increase in a height is known as a primary growth. So primary growth means what? The height increases, okay, but increase in the width is known as a secondary growth. Is that clear? Yes. Okay, so these are the three different tissues: apical meristematic tissue, okay, then after intercalary, and the third one is known as a lateral. Okay, yeah. So as I told you, the shoot apex will be having the same, as well as root apex will be also having the same. See, this is known as a leaf primordium. So that is where you can find out that they will be having the emergence of a leaf. Okay, from here the emergence of a leaf will takes place, and all the leaves will be having axillary bud. So this is in the corner, there is a axillary bud also. Can you see this? Yes. Okay. Then after, this is known as the shoot apical meristematic zone, and this will adding much more numbers. As a result of that, the height will increase. Okay. Then after, differentiating vascular tissues. What do you mean by vascular tissues? Xylem and phloem are known as a vascular tissues. Okay, so vascular tissues will be increasing, and they will provide water as well as food to the emerging part also, so that they will just grow nicely, and then after, such leaves will also contribute in the process of photosynthesis. Okay, so that's what it is. So this is known as the shoot apical. This is known as the root apical. This is root apical meristematic tissue. Then it is protected by the root cap, and you can see the initials of root cap. Then after, you can see there are some initials of central cylindrical and cortex. The cortex is the layer. Okay, then after protoderm, then after cortex and central cylinder. Please go through this diagram very nicely. It is also given in your book also. So you have to just memorize all the labelings, then only you will be able to understand what is given over here. So it's like a say for example, this pen is having a refill. Okay, so first of all, it is the central cylinder is its refill. Okay, yeah, just outside of that will be a cortex on either side. So that's what on both the side cortex is there, on both the sides of central cylinder. Anehit, this is central cylinder. On both the side of the central cylinder, there will be cortex. Okay, and the outer one, is known as a protoderm. Outside of cortex is known as a protoderm, and then after it will give rise to initials of root cap. Perfect. Initials of a central cylinder and cortex is also over here. Perfect. Are you okay with this? Yes. Okay. Now we are going for detail. They occur at the tips of the root and shoot, so that is present in the root apex as well as shoot apex. So here is a shoot apex, it is present. Here is a root apex, it is present. And they will produce primary tissues. There are two types: root apical meristem and shoot apical meristem. So this is root apical meristem, okay, and this is shoot apical meristem. So for a while, just look on all the labelings again, okay, because we are going to talk about that in the next slides. So assume that this is a pen and central cylinder is there. On either side of central cylinder, there is a cortex. Outside of the cortex will be having a protoderm. And then after at the base, there will be the root apical meristem, and on either up and down side will be initials of central cylinder as well as cortex. Yes. Then after there is a root cap, and initials of root caps are over here. Okay, so this is what the apical meristems, and that's a root apical meristematic tissue. Okay, central cylinder, cortex, protoderm, initials of a central cylinder and cortex, then after initials of caproot, root cap, root apical meristematic tissue, all the things are there. Now, if you will take the just only magnification of this much region, then you will get to know about that there is a central cylinder, cortex on either side, okay, and protoderm. It occupies the tip of a root. This is a root cap, and this is root apical meristem. In the root apical meristem, the central one is known as what? Like this to this. Hello, from this to this is known as a central cylinder. Then after this will be cortex, this will be also cortex, and outer side of that will be known as a protoderm. Are you getting it or not? Yes. No. Very good. Thank you so much for being so much transparent. You know, I really appreciate that. Okay, from here to here is known as a central cylinder. Can you get that? Okay, so let me write down CC. Chaitali Chintan Shah, CC. No, this is what? It's not Chaitali Chintan, but this is known as a central cylinder. Okay. Then after here to here, let me use another color so that we can make sure. Here to here is known as a cortex. So on either side of a central cylinder, there is a cortex. Can you see in the first figure? So, you know, that is schematic diagram, and this is what the real diagram. So we can say on either side, there is a cortex. So I'm just write down over here, cortex. So this is known as a cortex. Yes. Okay. So this is known as a cortex. Then after what? Then after you can see that over here, here there will be a protoderm. The outermost layer are known as a protoderm. Can you see that? Here it is. Okay. And let me label it with the, not the green is not okay. Yeah, pink will be okay. So, you know, this is known as a protoderm. So similarly, I'm just writing over here a protoderm, and the same protoderm is present on either side. Are you okay with this? Yeah. So I can write down it is known as a PD. That is known as a protoderm. I'm just writing the short form because I'm not having that much space. Okay with you all? So thanks for being transparent. Whenever you are not getting anything, please let me know about it. It's my duty that I have to clarify your doubts. And that's the way how I can get the self-satisfaction also. And you know, when you are asking that I didn't get it, I feel very good that I am a good man. I'm a good human. I'm a good coach. That's why you have a courage to tell me that yes, you are not able to understand this. And any relationship is based on what? It's based on transparency. Okay. So thank you so much. Yes. So are you okay with this now? If the central cylinder is there, cortex on either side, and protoderm on either side. Perfect. Okay. So let's go further. It occupies the tip of the root, and then after now it about the shoot apex. Okay, in the shoot apex, you can see that the same diagram is this is replicated over here. So you know this is real diagram. Leaf primodia. Okay, that will give rise to a leaf. Okay, then after what? So you know this is axillary bud primordium, which will give rise to primordium means what? A primitive structure, which will give rise to future axillary bud. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So future axillary bud will be over here. Then after this is shoot apex. Okay. Yeah. And axillary bud is over here. Leaf. Uh, Leaves are arising from here. That's it. So shoot apical meristem is this much only. If you magnify it, it will become this much. And when you take its section and when you go for this, then its magnification will give you this kind of a structure. Okay. Okay, so yes, again, I'm just repeating, this is terminal bird. Its magnification is over here. And if you will look under the microscope, it will look like this. And this diagram is schematically drawn over here, and it is having all the labelings. Are you okay with this? Yeah, it occupies the distant most region of the stem axis. Okay. And then after some cells will left behind from shoot apical meristem constitute the axillary bud. So they are having an axillary bud also. They are present in the axil of a leaves and can form a branch or a flower. So they can give rise to anything. Either they will give rise to a branch or a flower. Who? Axillary buds. Some cells left behind the shoot apical meristem, they will give rise to say axillary bud, and they will present in the axil of the leaves, and axillary bud will form a branch or a flower. Are you getting this? Okay. Now, another one is intercalary meristematic tissue. I already told you that it is present in between the two nodes. So that is internode. Okay. So inter means what? In between. And it is present in between the two nodes. That's why it is known as an intercalary meristematic tissue. The another reason why it is given such a name is that it is also fixed itself in between the permanent tissue. Oh, so in between the permanent tissue also it is present. But why is it so? What is the difference between the permanent tissue and meristematic tissue? Okay, so permanent tissue is not having a capacity to go for a cell division. So these are the internodes. As you can see, the distance between the two nodes very less in the first diagram here. But now the distance between the two nodes are increasing, as you can see. So this is the work of the intercalary meristematic tissue. Okay, still increasing. So that's how the distance between the two node increases, and that will give rise to internodes. So these are the nodes, and in between two nodes there is an internode. There is intercalary meristem is also there. Zones of elongations are also over here. So intercalary meristem, then after internode growth, intercalary meristematic tissue is over here also. Okay, yes, so this is how it is, and it is also present in between permanent tissue. Why it is present in between the permanent tissue? Because it might be happen that the plant may get injury. Suppose somebody had eaten up this much part, then how to get that part back? Suppose this much part is eaten up by any herbivorous animal. grazing animal. Then, so then intercalary meristematic tissue will regenerate these portions. For that, it is present over here. Okay, how it will take place, that we will study later on, because for that I have to show you de-differentiation, redifferentiation, and some other terms. But that's not given in this chapter, and that's why we are not talking about it. Is that clear? Yep. So let's go further. And they occur between the mature tissues. So mature tissues means permanent tissues, okay, whose differentiation had already taken place. They occur in the grasses and regenerate parts removed by grazing herbivores. So that's what I told you, okay. And intercalary meristematic tissue is over here. So this is magnification of this region. So in the magnification of this region, you can see lateral meristematic tissue are present. There are two lateral meristems, cork cambium and vascular cambium. Hey, and what is the function of the cork cambium and vascular cambium? They will just increase the diameter. How they are going to increase the diameter? That is actually lateral meristematic tissue. I already told you na, that they are over here to increase the diameter. They will increase the width of the plant. So how they are able to do this? That is with the help of adding new cells in the center also. So the central core will become this much bigger, as well as they are adding outer side also some cells. So outer side cells will be added by cork cambium, will be added by cork cambium. So cork cambium is on the outer side, can you see? And vascular cambium is over here. And if you ask me, sir, how it is taking place, for that we have this one whole topic whose name is a secondary growth in the same chapter. Yes, so in the same chapter there is a secondary growth. Apical intercalary meristem are primary meristem because they appear early in the plant in life and contribute to the formation of primary plant body. During that, the specific regions of the apical meristem produce dermal tissue, ground tissue, and vascular tissue. So I told you in the beginning of the chapter only we have a three system: epidermal tissue system. Okay, one is epidermal, another is a ground tissue system, and the third one is vascular tissue system. So it is being synthesized by these meristems. Okay, secondary or lateral meristem, so that will increase the width. So the meristem that occur in the mature regions of the roots and shoots, they are cylindrical meristem, and they are seen in the gymnosperm as well as in the dicots. So fascicular vascular cambium and interfascicular cambium and cork cambium. Hey sir, it looks like this is something unusual language. Yes, it looks like that, but I will talk about all these in future in the topic of secondary growth, which is the last topic of this, and it's my guarantee you will be very confident about that topic later on, so don't worry about it. Fascicular means what? Fascicular means bunch of something. So it is not only one layer, it is multi-layer structure, and that's why it is known as a fascicular vascular cambium. Then after, interfascicular cambium. So inter means what? In between, and there is a cork cambium. So I will let you know about that. These are responsible for producing secondary tissues, and secondary growth will take place. As a result of that, the width of the plant increases. Now we are talking about the permanent tissue. There are three types of permanent tissue. One is known as a parenchyma, another one is known as a sclerenchyma, and the third one is known as a collenchyma. What is the difference between the permanent tissue and the meristematic tissue? I already told you, meristematic tissue is having the capacity to go for a cell division, but permanent tissue cannot go for a cell division because they had undergone cell differentiation. When maturity is equal to cell differentiation. Yes. So what do you mean by cell differentiation? The meaning of a cell differentiation is very clear. It's based upon the future function of the cell. Cell acquires new shape and new size. So that is known as a cell differentiation. Okay, so let's go further. But before we go further for this, let me show you something what I have created very nicely in my board work. Okay, so we'll go through it, and that will give you a little bit much more detailed idea. Okay, yeah, and later on you can write down this also. Yeah, so what is given? Okay, let me read it. Plant tissues based upon the capacity of cell division, they will be of two types. Okay, one is meristematic tissue capable for cell division. Based upon the location, they will be of three types. Apical meristematic tissue present in the root apex and shoot apex. Intercalary meristematic tissue, it is present in between the permanent tissues as well as in the internodes. Okay, these two are responsible for the primary growth, that is height. Lateral meristematic tissue is present on the lateral side of the stem and root, and that is cambium and cork cambium are its example. Secondary growth means a growth in the width. Perfect. Hey, can you see this? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So let's go for the second one. Is known as a permanent tissue. It is not capable for cell division. Based upon the type of cells, so they are made up of how many cells? So of course, yeah, the tissues will be having more than one cell, because tissues definition is saying it is a group of the cells, of course. So here it is not about how many cells, but it is based upon types of the cell. It is made up of only one type of a cells. Again, listen it carefully. I'm not saying a tissue made up of a one cell. I'm saying one type of the cells. If they are made up of a single type of a cells, then they are known as a simple permanent tissue. So it is made up of a single type of a cells, that is known as a simple permanent tissue. And if they are having made up of a more than one type of a cell, then it is known as a complex permanent tissue. Okay, so let me give you some example. What are the types of a complex permanent tissue? One of that is known as a xylem and phloem. Xylem is tracheids, trachea, xylem parenchyma, xylem fibers. Okay, so parenchyma, fibers, these are the two types, as well as trachea, tracheid is also one more type. So there are three types present in the xylem. So as they are made up of more than one type of a cell, that's why it is known as a complex permanent tissue. Phloem is made up of a sieve cell, sieve tube. So that can be said as a one type. Then after companion cell, another type. Then after phloem parenchyma, that is third type, and phloem fibers, that is four types. So these are the four types. So if they are made up of more than one type of cells, then it is known as a complex permanent tissue. And if they are made up of only one type of a cell, then it is known as a simple permanent tissue. Like one of the same type is known as a parenchyma tissue. It is living tissue. Cells are round, isodiametric, oblong. Cell wall is made up of only and only cellulose. Cell wall is made up of what? Only and only cellulose. Okay. It is present in all organs of the plant. As it is present in the empty spaces of plant body, it is known as a ground tissue also, or matrix also. So if someone is saying that which simple tissue is showing omnipresent, omnipresent means it is present everywhere, just like a bacteria. Yes, so it's known as what? That's known as a parenchyma tissue. The parenchyma tissue can be subdivided into chlorenchyma, and parenchyma. Okay, let me show you first of all about the chlorenchyma. It is present, it is having a chloroplast in it. So where can you judge about the chloroplast present? Where there will be a presence of chloroplast? What do you think about it? Leaves, very good. So leaves will be there. So this is what the leaf. Okay, the cross section of the leaf is showing orange border, that is known as a upper epidermis, and this is lower epidermis. In between upper epidermis and lower epidermis, there are two tissue. One is a palisade, so that is this one, and this is known as a spongy tissue. So upper one is a palisade tissue. See, I'm just showing you a very good practical approach for this. If you will look most of the plants leaves, then the leaf which is on the upper side will be dark green in its color, and lower side will be light green in its color. Have you seen that? Now, whenever you look on a leaf, please look on that. Upper epidermis is having a dark green color. Lower epidermis is having a light green color. Why is it so? Because towards the lower epidermis, there is a tissue which is having a species. Can you see a spongy tissue is having a species? That's why it is light green in its color. but towards the upper epidermis, it is having no any spaces. That's why it is dark green in its color. Can you see that? Just look on the diagram over here in this. Here, no, nearby upper epidermis, there is no hollow space. That's why upper epidermis is a dark green in its color. But nearby lower epidermis, there are some hollow space. That's why it is having a light green in its color. Does it make sense to you? Yes, no? No. कौन सा? ये वाला. हाँ. अपर एपिडर्मिस कौन से कलर का है? डार्क ग्रीन कलर का. क्यों डार्क ग्रीन है वो? क्योंकि उसके सेल्स के बीच में कहीं भी जगह नहीं है, बीच बीच में जगह नहीं छोड़ी गई है. ठीक है, तो इसीलिए वो है डार्क ग्रीन कलर अपर एपिडर्मिस. और नीचे जो है इसके देखिए आप, स्पंजी टिश्यू में बीच बीच में ये जगह है, तो वहां पे वो लाइट कलर हो जाएगा. इसीलिए जो लोअर एपिडर्मिस के पार्ट जो है वहां पे लाइट ग्रीन कलर है. अभी समझे? हाँ, समझे? हाँ, okay. And let me have a leaf if it is possible over here. Okay, let me have a leaf so that you can I can show you later on in the same chapter, lecture also. Okay, now if somebody wants to enjoy the swimming pool, but that person don't know about swimming, then what to do? And the depth of the swimming pool is much more one. Huh? So what to do? What to do? Tell me, give me a practical idea. What should be done? Yes, you can use the air tube, okay, and you can enjoy the swimming pool. So in such a way, there are aquatic plants in which leaf wants to float on the surface of water. For that, such leaves are having a air spaces, and that is known as a parenchyma. Oh, so like lotus leaf is floating on the surface. So this parenchyma tissue will give them buoyancy. What do you mean by buoyancy? Buoyancy meaning is that a floating capacity. It will give them capacity to float on the surface of water. Why they are floating on the surface of water? They can submerge also. Na? वो डूब भी जाते तो क्या होता? Then their photosynthesis will be affected. Are you getting it? So they are aquatic plants and they want to float and wants to perform a photosynthesis also at the maximum level. And that's why they want to float on the surface of water. Okay. Yes. Then another, so you know, the parenchyma tissue is known as a ground tissue or a matrix also. Chlorenchyma and parenchyma, it's subtypes. Now we are going for collenchyma. It is a living mechanical tissue showing deposition of pectin, especially in the corners of the cell. Showing deposition of pectin, especially in the corners of the cell. Okay, as it is showing the tissue in the corners of the cell. Okay, showing the deposition of pectin, especially in the corners of the cell. That's why it is known as a collenchyma. Okay, and let me have a leaf. So as you can see, this is the leaf, a fresh leaf. There's a dark green color on the upper epidermis. Yes, it is dark green in its color, and on the backside it is light green in its color. So why this is a light green in its color? Because this region, which is a light green, here can you feel the difference? This is light green and this is dark green. Yes, it's a great difference. You can see it. Yes or no? Okay. Yes. So these upper epidermis is having what? Palisade tissue, which is not showing any kind of a intercellular species. But this is where lower epidermis is there. They will be having what? Species, intercellular species, and that's why this is known as a spongy tissue. Okay, and if you look very closely, then you can see it is having a reticulate venation also. So camera couldn't focus that. Okay. Unfortunately, yes, but now it is possible. Yes, 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 yes. Can you see that, na? Reticulate venation. So that's amazing. And that's the nature. So, being a biology student now, you will improve your eyesight and you will be able to observe nature very closely. And that's how you can enjoy your holidays and you can become a travel holic also because you can find out nature everywhere, no matter where you are. Yes or no? Okay, yes. So the collenchyma is a living mechanical tissue showing deposition of pectin, especially in the corners of the cells. This tissue gives mechanical strength along with flexibility, thus not restricting the growth of the plant. So this is the tissue which is flexible also, and it is giving mechanical strength also. So it's doing both the things simultaneously. Okay. Yeah. So as it is doing both the things simultaneously, so that's the amazing thing. Hey, I have something in my hand. A drop you can see, but it's a sticky one. So I have to wash my hand. Okay, yes. So it is absent in the root oocollenchyma, but present in the petiole and the tender stem. What do you mean by tender stem? The not the woody one. Woody stem is, oh yes, so primary stem you can say, who is having a flexibility much more. So those kind of a stem is known as a tender stem. Okay. Okay, so you can see over here the collenchyma is there. Then after there is a sclerenchyma. So I already told you about the collenchyma. It's giving a flexibility also along with the mechanical strength, and that's why it is present in the petiole. That's why the petiole can flutter in the strong wind. Okay, if it is not made up of a collenchyma, then this leaf will be detached from the plant. So it's good that it's a flexible. Okay, and it is not arresting the growth of the plant, and that's why the secondary growth can be happen in the tender stem. Now comes very rigid kind of a tissue which is known as a sclerenchyma tissue. It's a dead tissue. It's showing deposition of lignin. Here was deposition of pectin. So lignin and the cells are polygonal in their shape. So you can see this is what polygonal in their shape, and there is a lignin deposition, and that's why lumen of the cell will become narrow. Lumen of the cell will become narrow. Yes. Okay, and this is what the collenchyma, and in the corners you can find out the pectin is present, this orange colored material, pectin. That's why I just use the same color pectin for the orange color. Okay, and lignin for the pink color. The sclerenchyma tissue will be again divided into two types. One is a sclerids, another one is a fibers. This is known as sclerenchyma fibers. It looks like lady finger. So if you cut it, it is a hexagonal like this. And sclerids, have you ever tested sclerids? Sclerids, have you tested? Have you ever eaten sapota? Sapota? Hey, you don't know about sapota? Sapota? Sapota is known as a chiku. So when we are eating the sapota or a chiku, and when we are using its a thick shake, milkshake also, then you may find out that some crystalline material are coming in our mouth, and in between the two, they will make a sound like butchard butchard or so that kind of a sound will be there, and you cannot divide into the pieces. Even if you take one crystal in between two teeth, then also you cannot break it down. Why? Because it's that much hard, and that is known as a sclerids. Can you give me example of any other fruit in whose you can find out this kind of a crystalline structure? Mhm. Anyone? I think it's a pear. I think it's known as a pear. Honey, in the pear, if you cut the pear, you are eating it, you will, yes, guava, not guava, pear. In guava, seeds are coming. Seeds are very hard in the case of guava. But this is not the seed. Like in chiku, it's not a seed. In the pear, it's not a seed. Okay. So that's what the sclerids. So now you can assume and can feel that how much hardness it is having. Yes. And the complex permanent tissue are xylem and phloem. Okay. So let's go further and let's go in the detail of each and every of them. Okay. So let me share my slideshow again to you people. So I have just given you overall idea about this so you can have a much more better understanding about it. Okay. Yes. Are in my video is perfect now? Tell me yes, no.
Yes,
Audio
it is
video
okay.
is clear.
Yes, it is okay now.
I got it. Thanks for telling me. Okay, so let's go further. Here what you can see, the cells produced by primary and secondary meristems become structurally and functionally specialized and lose the ability of division. So, they are structurally and functionally specialized, meaning is that they become differentiated. So once they become differentiated, then after they lose the ability to divide. Very good. They are called as a permanent cells and constitute the permanent tissues. There are two types of such a tissue. There's a simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. That depends upon they are made up of how many types of the cell. If they are made up of a single type of a cell, then it is known as a simple permanent tissue. Tissue having all the cells similar in their structure and function. So single type of a cell, then it is known as what? It is known as a simple permanent tissue. Will be three types: the parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. So there is a parenchyma. Parenchyma tissue is what? So it is a isodiametric and made up of cellulose. Then collenchyma is having a pectin deposition, and sclerenchyma will be having a lignin deposition. So that's what the superficially I'm just telling you. But now I'm giving you parenchyma's detail. So as I told you, if you will look in the leaf, and I have shown you even the real leaf also in the same lecture. So this is where the palisade tissue is present. So it's a dark green. Yes, because there is no any intercellular species. But here, yes, it is known as a spongy tissue, where you can find out some species are there. And that's why this lower leaf is light green in its color. Are you understanding now? Yes. And upper epidermis is dark green in its color. Wow. Okay, so it forms the major component within the organs. Okay, parenchyma tissue. Okay, and then after, cells generally isodiametric, and they may be spherical, round, polygonal, elongated one, oval one, and their cell wall are a thin and made up of a cellulose, and they are closely packed or have some intercellular spaces. So in the case of a palisade, it is closely packed, but in the case of a spongy tissue, it is having some intercellular spaces. Okay, functions are photosynthesis, storage of the food, and secretion. Okay. Now comes the another one, which is known as collenchyma. So in collenchyma, in the corners, you can find out the pectin deposition is present. Can you see whenever the deposition is there, it's about the pectin. So thickened corners are there. Okay. Protoplasm is there, vacuole is there, and cell wall is there. So it occurs below the epidermis in the dicot plant. That's why it is known as a hypodermis. Epidermis is uppermost one. Hypo means lower one. Okay, that's why it is like a epigynous flower, hypogynous flower. Epi means upper, hypo means lower. It's just like that. It's found as a homogeneous layer, or in patches also it is present. It consists of the cells with much thickened corner due to the deposition of cellulose, hemicellulose, and pectin. So hemicellulose and cellulose are already there, but the main one is a pectin. Intercellular species are absent because it is being filled up by what? It is filled up by this hemicellulose, cellulose, and pectin. Yes. Cells are oval, spherical, polygonal, and often contain chloroplast. So they provide mechanical support to the growing parts such as the young stem and petiole of the leaf. And the cells that contain chloroplast will synthesize the food also. So that's amazing. And that's the obvious one. So it is sclerenchyma tissue. So now comes sclerenchyma tissue. Here the lignin deposition is taking place inside. As a result of that, nothing can be exchanged outside or inside the cell. And that's why the tissues will become dying. So it consists of long, narrow cells with the thick lignified cell walls, having a few or numerous peat. So it's having a small peats, very few, and they are usually dead without protoplast. So based on the form, structure, origin, development, sclerenchyma are two types. One is known as a fiber, another one is a sclerid. Can you see the sclerid and fiber? So fiber looks like the lady finger, and sclerids are present in what? That is present in the pulp of the sapota or chiku, as well as they are present in the pulp of the pear. These are thickened wall, elongated, pointed cells, and generally occurring in the groups. Sclerids, these are spherical or oval or cylindrical and highly thickened dead cells with very narrow cavities. Okay, these are found in the fruit walls of nuts, pulp of fruit like guava, pear, and sapota. Even it is also present in the seed coats of legumes and leaves of the tea. Tea leaves are also having it. Okay, functions will provide mechanical support to the corresponding organ. Now comes the permanent tissue, which is of another type, which is known as a complex permanent tissue, which is made up of a more than one type of a cell. So these are made up of a more than one type of a cells, and they work together as a unit. Okay, see, this is known as a vascular bundle. In vascular bundle, you can see there is a xylem, there is a phloem. Okay, so phloem, which is transporting the organic food material, and xylem is transporting what? It is transporting the water and minerals. You know about that? Do you know about that? What is the function of the xylem and phloem? Xylem is just transporting water and minerals, and phloem is transporting the food material. That's it. Okay. There are two types. One is a xylem, another one is a phloem. So you can see xylem and phloems are running parallel just like a pipes in this structure. Can you see that? And the structure which is having both of them is known as a cambium. Is known as what? In between them, there is a cambium. And the structure which is having xylem and phloem is known as a VB. Huh? Vascular bundles. The structure which is having both of them are known as what? Vascular bundle. So this is where the vascular bundle is present. Okay. Phloem is brown colored one. Can you see that? Here is brown colored one. And this is orange or red colored one, which is known as a xylem. In between the xylem and phloem, there is a meristematic tissue, which is known as a cambium. And cambium is a one type of a lateral meristematic tissue. Okay. Are you getting it? Huh? Two types is a xylem and phloem, and let's go for both of them one by one. So let's start with the first of all about the xylem. And yes, so it's a function as a conducting tissue for water and minerals from root to the leaf as well as a stem. It also provides the mechanical strength to the plant parts. So you can see it's made up of four elements. One is a trachea, which is very small one, and it is present in the lower kind of a plants. It's like in the pteridophyte, only first time conducting tissue system is present. So in the pteridophytes, you can find out that they will be having tracheates. Then after there will be a trachea. So when the tracheates will be well developed, they will become a trachea. So it's like look like a xylem vessel. So you can consider it's a whole pipe which is having the diameter and moving up to down in the buildings. So that's the whole pipe. Okay. Do you think so that the pipes are allow the water to move out? No, in such a way here also the wall is having a deposition of lignin. Vessel is having a deposition of lignin. As a result of that, water cannot move inside, cannot move out of the xylem. Perfect. So tracheids will give rise to trachea, which is known as a vessel, xylem fibers, and xylem parenchyma. Okay. So you can see parenchyma cells, they are storing the food. Okay. Vessels element are there, and the perforation plate is also over here. There are pits. So, there are different ways how the deposition of lignin had also taken place. So these are the different ways how deposition of lignin takes place. Okay. So either it is pitted. This is known as what? Pitted. Pitted. Lignin is present in the pitted form. This is present in the bordered pitted, and this is present in the annular. So this is tracheid and this is trachea. Okay. So this is what the xylem fibers are there. Xylem vessels and tracheids and xylem parenchyma. These are the parts of the xylem. So they are elongated, the xylem's tracheids. So tracheids will be what? So tracheids will be having the tapering ends. These are elongated tube-like dead cells with the thick lignified wall and tapering ends. Tapering ends means sharp ends. Protoplasm is absent. The inner layer of a cell walls have a thickening which showing variation in different forms. So what are the variations? So I said that is a pitted, then after border pitted, then after annular. So there is a sclerified. So I will show you some different forms over here. In flowering plants, tracheids and vessels are the main water transporting elements. That's it. Now, the other part is known as a vessel. So, let me show you the deposition of the lignin in the different ways. Let me check if I am having a photograph of it, or I have drawn by myself in a different phases. So, I can show you. So you will be confident that, okay, these are the different ways. Although it's not a part of the syllabus, but let me check if I can give you some little bit detailed idea of it. Yeah, just be with me. La, 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 la. Yes, so this is what it is. Different forms are there. As you can see, a spring-like structure is there. This is annular. This is spiral. This is clarified. This is reticular. This is pitted, and this is border pitted. Again, annular. ANNULAR. Then after this is spiral form. This is known as a sclerified, step by step like. Okay. Then this is reticulate, and this is pitted, and this is bordered pitted. So these are the ways how the deposition of the lignin had taken place. Okay. Yes. So these are the different kind of lignin deposition forms. Might be happen that you may find out somewhere it is. That's why I just shown you, but just for the satisfaction. It's not given in the textbook, and that's why very less possibility that they can ask you. So it's a long cylindrical tube-like structure. Ooh, hey, I'm talking about the vessels, or you can say trachea. Either you say trachea or you can say vessels. So it's a long tube-like structure made up of many cells, and many cells, the vessel members are there. So it's like you can see that the tracheids are like this. This is one tracheid. This is another tracheid. This is third one. This is fourth one. In between them, there is a transverse wall. That transverse wall will disappear, and it will give rise to a hollow structure, which is a pipe-like continuous one. So that pipe-like continuous structure is known as a vessels. Okay. So each with the lignified wall and a large central cavity. So it should be having a large central cavity, and then only they can conduct the water and minerals. Of course, yes, agree with me. Okay, protoplasm is absent. So whenever lignin deposition is there, na, protoplasm is dead or it is absent. Vessels members are interconnected through the perforations. Perforations means small openings in their common wall. So as I told you, na, there is a trachea, another trachea, third trachea. The transverse wall is there. Now either it will disappear totally, or it will be having a perforation. Or you can say channi, just like a channi. Channi kar de sina mera. So you know that just like a channi, they are perforated structures, okay, in their common wall. Filter, yes, you can say a filter also. The vessels are characteristic features of the angiosperm. So that is in the case of monocot and dicot, both they will be present. Gymnosperms are not having vessels. Hane? Yes, what is next? It's about the xylem parenchyma. So what do you mean by the xylem? Okay, so xylem fibers. The xylem fibers are made up of what? Sclerenchyma, because fiber itself is a type of a sclerenchyma, which will give a mechanical strength. So they have a highly thickened wall and obliterated central lumens. Okay, so they may be a septate or aseptate. So xylem fibers having a septum, no septum, it is known as a aseptate. That's it. अरे यार I told you पर्दा है पर्दा then it is known as a septate if parda is there. If the septum is not there, it is known as a aseptate. Yes. And next is what? It is about the xylem parenchyma. It is just storing the food. Living and thin-walled cells with the cellulose cell wall. They store food material like starch or fat and other substances like tannins. The radial conduction of water takes place by the ray parenchymatous cells. What do you mean by radial conduction of water? See, suppose this is the plant. The up and down conduction of water will take place with the help of the xylem vessels. Okay. Radial conduction means what? Radial conduction means what? These all portions will get water how? So that radial conduction will takes place, you know, in the from the center, it will takes place through this xylem parenchyma. Are you getting it? Up and down movement of the water will take place with the help of what? Xylem vessels. But suppose somebody is saying that how all these peripheral structure of the plant will get water, so that is radial. So you know radial means what? They are present in different directions like this. Okay, and who is present in such a way? So radiating way. So that is what the xylem parenchyma. Are you getting it now? Yes. Okay. So radial conduction of water. So that is from the center. It will spread like this from center. Okay. So that will be possible by ray parenchymatous cells. Okay. How is the lumen? If it is having a big lumen, then it is known as a protoxylem. Sorry, proto means premenal. And it's a primary. It's a primary form. So protoxylem means what? They have a narrow lumen. So this is what they have, a narrow lumen. Metaxylem means what? They have a big lumen. Yes or no? Again, protoxylem is narrow lumen and metaxylem is big lumen. Okay. Yes. The primary xylem is of two types. Protoxylem, the first form primary xylem, metaxylem, the later formed primary xylem. Are you getting this? So this is metaxylem, which is having a much more broad, so later form, and that's why it is a broad one. in the lumen, and protoxylem is having very narrow lumen. Perfect. Yo. So here you should always ask, where is protoxylem? What the question you should ask? Where is protoxylem? And you should just think about it. Where is it? Like if it is towards the pith, it is known as a endark arrangement. What's the question you should ask? Where is protoxylem? If it is towards the pith, as like this, then it is known as an endark. And if the protoxylem is towards the outer side, then it is known as exarch. In stems, protoxylem lies towards the center or the pith, and metaxylem towards the periphery. This is known as a endark. So you should always keep in only one type of thing in your mind. You should always ask, where is protoxylem? If it is towards the inner side, then it is known as what? Endark. And if it is towards the outer side, as you can see in the dipot root, it is known as an exarch. So in roots, the protoxylem lies towards the periphery and metaxylem lies towards the center. This type is known as a exarch. What question you should ask? Where is protoxylem? Yes. Now comes phloem. And yes, this is the last topic. Huh? Don't worry. I can see the face. Okay, in transport the food material from leaves to other parts. Okay, so this is what the phloem and xylem and phloem. Hey, you can see in the phloem the clear sieve plate is present. This is known as a sieve plate, which looks like a filter, or you can say channi. Channi kar de sina mera. Channi kar de sina mera. This song is from which movie? Badlapur. Very good. And that was Varun Dhawan in movie. You know, when I met Varun Dhawan, I really praise about his acting of the Badlapur and the way he had acknowledged me by like this. So that's the way how he used to do this in the Badlapur. He was not doing like this. He was doing like this. Okay, the question is that where I met him. Yes, I was in Goa and they were shooting for Dilwale. Dilwale, in which the Shah Rukh Khan, Kriti Senan, Kajol was there. But we can find out only three celebrity. One was Rohit Shetty, obviously. Another one is Varun Dhawan and Kriti Senan. And we couldn't recognize that this is Kriti Senan. And because at that time she was not a very famous actress. And she had gone through only, she was got her debut in the Hero Panti only. That was the only one movie. But yeah, she was very beautiful and very tall than that of even Varun Dhawan also. Okay, so this is what the phloem parenchyma, that is over here. You can see over here phloem parenchyma, sieve pores are there. So this is known as a sieve plate. Okay, then sieve tube, companion cells, nucleus, sieve plate. I told you, sieve plate. What do you mean by sieve? Meaning of sieve is a channi. Meaning of sieve is known as what? Channi. Okay. Yes. Are you getting it? Channi. In Gujarati, it is known as a gurney, or you can say a filter. Okay. In angiosperm, the phloem is composed of the sieve tube elements, companion cell, phloem parenchyma, phloem fibers. Everything is present in the case of angiosperm. So angiosperm is a very, very complicated and very, very well-developed structures. Then after gymnosperm have albuminous cells and sieve cells only. They lack sieve tube and companion cells also. Okay. So let's start with the very, very easy and very small kind of a thing that's known as a sieve tube elements. Sieve tube elements can be also known as sieve cells. Okay, these are long tube-like structures arranged longitudinally and associated with the companion cell. Their end walls are perforated to give rise to sieve plate. So, end walls are perforated to give rise to a sieve plate. Channi. A mature sieve element has a peripheral cytoplasm and large vacuole, but it lacks nucleus. Who? Sieve element, huh? Who will be having a nucleus? That is companion cell. The functions of a sieve tube is controlled by the nucleus of companion cell. So that's why companion cells are side by side. Extremely sorry. Excuse me. So the functions of the sieve tube are controlled by nucleus of the companion cell. So what do you mean by the control? So whether they should increase the speed of transport of food, they should decrease the speed of transport of food, or they should switch on or switch off the food transport. All this being done by the nucleus of the companion cell. Yes. Okay. Now it will be having a protofloem and metafloem. Eh? Yes, the primary phloem is known as a protofloem, consists of narrow sieve tubes, and the metafloem is a secondary phloem, has a bigger sieve tubes. Function conduction of the food material from leaves. That's it. Okay. This is what. So again, this is what the companion cells. You can see this is a good one. Okay. Yeah, the companion cell is over here, side by side. Yes, so this is what the companion cell. And on the outer side, you can see a phloem parenchyma. They are storing the food substances. You can see the sieve pores are over here, and they will give rise to a sieve plate also. Yes or no? Yeah. Specialized parenchymatous cells associated with sieve tube elements. Sieve tube elements and companion cells are connected by pit fields present between their common longitudinal walls. So parenchymatous cells are associated with the sieve tube elements, and sieve tube elements and companion cells connected with the pits field present between their common longitudinal wall. Here in the pits they are present. Function: maintain the pressure gradient in the sieve tube. What do you mean by pressure gradient? So there should be a pressure on one side, then only on the other side the food will go. Are you getting it? As like in our buildings also, there is a submersible pump and you have to switch on the motor so that the water will go in the upside. Okay, so they are just creating the pressure much more towards lower side so that water will move upward. Okay, now, and that will be against the gravitational pull. That's why we have to use electricity to create such a pressure. Getting it? Okay, na? Okay. What is this now? The next is about phloem's part, which is phloem parenchyma. I told you phloem parenchyma is just storing the food, nothing else. Okay. So it's made up of elongated tapering cylindrical cells, have a dense cytoplasm, nucleus. Cell wall is composed of cellulose, has a pits through which plasma-desmatal connections exist between the two cells. What is plasma-desmata? All plant cells are connected with each other via cytoplasmic fibers. All plant cells are connected with each other via cytoplasmic fibers. Such a one fiber is known as a plasmodesmata. Okay, yeah. I told you earlier about this when we were talking about the cell wall. In cell wall, perhaps this was given in the cell and cell components. Phloem parenchyma is absent in most of the monocot. Okay. Function: store the food material and other substances like resins, latex, and mucilage. Resins which give them mechanical strength. Latex, sometimes if you have you seen the champa plant? Champa. or you say calotropis, if you will break up its leaf or you pluck its leaf, then the milky secretion takes place. That white milk secretion takes place, no? That is known as a latex. And mucilage means what? Mucilage means something which is secreted, which is very viscous and sticky. Okay, yeah. So that's what the mucilage. Hey, have you ever seen this? We are giving rise to a sutri bomb, sutri dori. The different kind of ropes are made up of this kind of a structure, and they are very hard in their structure because they are made up of a phloem fibers. Oh, so they are made up of sclerenchyma tissue. As they are made up of a sclerenchyma tissue cells, that's why they are very hard and providing mechanical strength. Generally absent in primary phloem, these are elongated, unbranched, and they have a pointed needle-like apices. Cell wall is quite thick, very thick cell wall is there. And at maturity, these fibers lose protoplasm and become dead, because their function is to just give them mechanical strength. There is a material which is known as a jute, flax, hemp are used commercially. I told you, even to, we are taking the wheat grains in a bag. Okay, so that is the jute bag. So that is made up of this phloem fibers. Okay, mechanical support and protection of the soft tissue, that is its main function. So all the tissues at a glance, let me show you. Plant tissues are there at a glance is like this. You'll, yes, no problem. Okay, you can leave. Yes, but I'm over here and I'm going to share with you something. Yes, yes. Where is this? Okay. So I'm just showing you. Can you see the plant tissue will be of what? Two types. Which are the two types? One is known as what? One is known as a meristematic tissue. Another one is a permanent tissue. Okay. So here you can see plant tissue is meristematic and permanent. Then apical meristematic tissue. This is a root apex and shoot apex. Intercalary, secondary lateral meristematic tissue, that is known as the cambium and cork cambium. Then permanent tissue, simple and complex, parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, xylem, and phloem. That's it. And now we will start with the tissue system in the next lecture. Okay. Yes. So here I am just completing my lecture, and please go through all these topics very, very nicely and make it clear as soon as possible. As soon as possible. Okay. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed the lecture, and if you have any doubt, please ask me. No. Okay. So as far there is no doubt at all. Okay. So bye, Dada. See you. Thank you so much. Bye bye.